Morning. Today I want to talk about tech interviews and some of the tips on getting through the tech interview. I so the tech, typical tech interview, at least for software jobs, consists of you submitting your resume somehow, either through a recruiter or directly to a company. Then usually they'll have a phone screen where you talk one-on-one with an engineer. Usually you'll share a screen sharing technology of sorts where they'll be able to see where you type. They'll give you an exercise, programming exercise to solve, and you'll solve that. If that goes well, they'll also probably do a little bit of discovery, ask you about your background, the things you worked on, that sort of thing. If that goes well, then they'll bring you on site. And on site is typically consists of 4 or 5 one-to-one or sometimes 2 or more people interviews. Usually it's one-to-one. Where they will also kind of like the phone screen will give you a problem to solve and talk about how have you worked through the problem. Sometimes they'll have only a couple of technicals and a couple of bit more of personality fit. But like larger companies like Google, it'll be just all 5 technical with slightly different angle. For example, some will try to focus more on your data structure. Some will have more of a design question, that sort of thing. But typically what you get is resume, phone screen, and then followed by 4 or 5 on-site interviews if everything goes well. So that's sort of the process. And I'm not sure why exactly, but I know that a lot of people feel the same way, and it's a pretty uncomfortable process. For example, I was in the military. I did boot camp. I did cold weather training where you like live in the snow in a tent and it's pretty cold and uncomfortable. And obviously they're not as bad. I mean, the tech interviews are not nearly as bad as those things, but they're up there on the list of things that I'm not particularly enjoying. And my number one tip for getting through the tech interviews and without feeling too much pain is, as they say, I used to joke in the military, they would say, embrace the suck, be one with the suck. And because everything sucks in the military, and you just kind of accept that it's gonna suck for a while, and then just kind of let it, have it, don't let it bother you, don't let it get to you, just kind of put it behind you. And just have fun with it. That's sort of my number one advice. Interviews can be pretty uncomfortable. You talk to the person who saw same problem solved many times by many people. They know all the secrets and shortcuts and blah blah blah, and you probably either never seen this problem or seen it a really long time ago or seen something similar a really long time ago. So you are struggling through these things, and the person who's asking you feels like a god and like they know everything. It's like, who wants to be a millionaire, where they have all the answers and you don't. And it's uncomfortable, but just have fun with it. Those questions are usually kind of like solving. I try to think about it as like solving puzzles. I like solving puzzles. So just have fun with it. Another parallel I have is like in the military. I used to hate seeing an officer, and most people hate seeing an officer. And the reason why is because every time you see an officer, you have to salute them, say good morning, sir, or ma'am. I used to hate it, and I used to run. And then I was like, you know what? I'll have fun with it. I have to do it anyway. So every time I see an officer, hey, I have to salute him once, but he has to salute every swinging person who walks by. So it's kind of sucks a lot worse for them. So every time I see an officer from now on, be like, make an eye contact. I'll be, good morning, sir. And they'll be like, hey, good morning. They're the one, making it. I don't know, just having fun with it. I don't, realizing you have to do it, might as well have fun with it. Same thing with interviews. You have to do it, just have fun with it. Come in with a smile, have a good time. If you get a crappy person, so be it. If you don't get through this interview, so what? You're still alive, you're healthy, you have family and whatnot, and life goes on. So anyways, it's number one tip, just have fun with it. Don't sweat it. Anyway, but number 2 tip is to treat it like a numbers game. It's just kind of like dating in college, dating in high school. It's a lot of rejection, and you just have to kind of keep trying until you find the right person with this perfect match, blah blah blah. It's a lot of rejection, a lot of no's, a lot of no's, and just treat it as a numbers game. Don't think about it as a rejection every time it happens. Think about, you have to, statistically speaking, get so many no's before you get to a yes. So every time you get a no, fine, I'm just one step closer to getting the yes that I need. And the numbers, so like your probability of getting through each stage increases as you get more experience. For example, when I first started looking for work, it was pretty hard for me just to get a phone screen with my resume. It's much easier now because I've done things that are in demand, and when I send my resume now, though my resume is not as polished as it can be, I get the calls because it's good enough. I had experience, at least want to talk to me. I also have a pretty high success rate now getting through phone screens and on-site interviews. I'm still, I think I would probably, one of the four is I would get an offer. So it's pretty bad, and I can definitely improve there. And I'll have some tips on how to improve there. Yeah, but anyway, but it doesn't matter. You whatever it is, you have your magic number. For example, let's say one out of 20 resumes, let's say you're fresh out of college, nobody really cares about you yet. One of 20 resumes you will send out, you will get a call. And then one out of 10 phone screens you get, you'll get, they'll bring you on site, and one out of 10 on sites, you will get an offer. It's pretty bad numbers, but working with that, so it means for every 10 phone calls you need to have 10 on sites. So you need to have 100 phone calls to get to 10 on sites so you can get that one offer, right? So if we said, I forget what I said, 20 resumes to 10 phone calls, you can get 100 phone calls, so you need to send out 2,000 resumes. It's pretty drastic numbers, but if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. And you send out your 20,000 resumes, you get your 10 phone calls, you get 9 no's, and then eventually get your yes. For 100 phone calls, overblown numbers, but you get the point. 10 phone calls, you get your 10 yeses, you show up, you do 10-person interviews, and you get your one offer. And even the worst case scenario, if things are really rough, this is your numbers, that's what you work with. Somebody from like myself, few years experience, my numbers were, let's say after another video I talked about my history, I couldn't really quite get the offer that I wanted right away out of college, so I went to work for my friend's startup, and after that I was able to get better. At least I had something on my resume that people wanted to talk to me, and I think my call volume, like my phone to my resume to phone screen, was pretty good. I think I would probably one of the 3 or 4 places I applied would call me. My phone screen to in person was actually really bad. It was about I would say 1 out of 10 or something like that. And then actually, other the few places I did make it in person, though, I did pretty good. I was about to get one offer, and I got another offer from another place. So they kind of people didn't want me, like they filtered me out in the phone screen, and I actually had pretty high success rate in person, because people knew that I was junior and they were okay with that, I guess, by that point. Versus later on, when numbers changed a little bit, it would be easier for me to pass the phone screen, but I wouldn't get as many offers. But the point is, it doesn't matter. Whatever your numbers are, work with them. Every no is just one door closes, just one. You just go to the next door until you hit the door that opens, and that basically, that's your door. Every no you get, every rejection, you're one step closer to actually getting a successful outcome. So that's the tip. And then the third tip is to try to do what you can to optimize your numbers in every stage. So, for example, your phone screen stage, your resume stage, you take your time with your resume. Make sure it's polished, make sure there's no spelling errors, make sure it's formatted nicely, easy to read. I'd like to stick to one page. I've been in the industry for 6 years now. I still try to fit everything that on one page, because nobody has the patience to read 20-page resume. It doesn't make you look good. If you have a good GPA, list it. If you're fresh out of college, put it on top. If you've been working around for a while, move your most relevant, move your experience to the top. Buzzwords matter. Recruiters, make sure your LinkedIn is updated just as much as your resume, because recruiters will go on LinkedIn and other social networks and search for those buzzwords. And then when you outline what you did, try to, in your resume, try to say what you did, like, and why it's important. So some people will be like, some resume would say, I work on the front end for this website. Okay, like whatever, work on the front end is pretty general. But you can say, I redesign a GoToMeeting interface, help mentor a team of 5 engineers, implemented 20% of the code base, and was helped release the product and used by millions of users. So you say what I use numbers, so it helps draw a picture of exactly why it was important, what part you play, and it just reads better. And if you Google how to write a resume, there will be better examples of what you can do. But basically, just try to say what you did, why it was important, what you did, right? Not your team did, but you specifically, because that's what really they care. Like, what was your contribution, why it was important, what positive difference did you make, and try to use numbers as much as you can, because it helps people to quantify, even if it's a rough guess. Like I said, 20% of code base is a rough guess, but I like to throw it in there if I have no other number to put in it, just because people like numbers. So that's that. Yeah, then make sure have other people who experience proofread your resume. It's definitely like, that's your gateway drug, right? The resume, they have to like your resume. They have to look at your resume. They have to be like, wow, I want to cool to this. This guy looks, girl looks cool. I want to talk to this person. Hype it up. If you've done something cool that's unrelated, for example, I put the military in. And I list my military experience till this day, because it's something I'm proud of. I live in Bay Area, which is pretty liberal. Some people might not like military. I put that I lived in Israel. Oh, I didn't put that I lived in Israel, but I put that I speak in Hebrew, because you know what? If I'm gonna hit a person who hates the military or hates the Jews, then I don't want to work with them anyway, right? But there's a chance that they might identify with the military, or they might identify with me being Jewish, and they might help me. So I just list those things, and say anything that, whatever, you're part of a swim team or something cool about you. You sang in choir or something like that. I would just throw it in there, because it helps people identify with you. So yeah, that's the resume. Courses they took, for example, if you have a degree but they also do Coursera courses, I respect that. I taken Coursera courses listed, that sort of thing. Basically, try to put yourself in the person's shoes that will be reading resume, and be like, what would make this person say, this person looks cool, I want to talk to them. And whatever you can find your history, I believe it belongs to your resume. Obviously, keep it as technical as you can, but throw a line or two hobbies as extra activities, that sort of stuff. So that's the resume. And do an experiment. If your resume is not getting response, maybe tweak it. Try a couple different resumes. But I would just say, don't start with that. Just start with one best resume you can come up with, and just see how that works. Blast your resume. Update your LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, put at the top of your LinkedIn, put in, this is how you get a hold of me. This is my email. Maybe you remove the @ so you'll get spam. This is my phone number. Make it easy for recruiters to get in touch with you, because they have to pay to do that. But if you make it super easy, it's available, then they'll find you really easily. I wouldn't put it on the public website, just because it gets scraped as much more. But LinkedIn, I've never had an issue with. Do premium things, like every time, when I was looking for work, I'd always like to go to like a job boards like dice.com and LinkedIn. Actually, I got premium, and pay 20, 30, 40, whatever dollars you have to get like one of those quality sites. Don't go for scram. But if it's a quality site, industry is using it a lot. I know Indeed has something now, Indeed.com. Pay for the premium, so you show up at the search result, submit your resume, so recruiters find the first thing. Usually they go in the morning, and they're like, oh, what's the news resumes, and start hitting the road calling you. Do that, like maybe on the weekend, so they find you first thing in the Monday, and they try to always be the first one, so and they're still fresh from the weekend. And to do premiums, you show up. The more eyeballs you get on your resume, the more potential forwards you get, that sort of thing. So play that game. Yeah, definitely work the recruiters. If that doesn't go well, if your resume is not biting, I would go as far as emailing, list all the tech recruiter organizations, email my resume to the tech recruiters, contact them directly. When they were first looking for work, I found a recruiter at Yahoo through, I forget how I found him, but I got his email, and I emailed him directly. It's like, hey, I know I'm a junior, but here's my resume. I'm really interesting. I love Yahoo. At the time, Yahoo was a much cooler company than it is now. it was like, hey, I love Yahoo, I love all the tech that comes out of you, such as blah blah blah. I would love to chance to interview there. And the guy championed the hell out of me. Like, he directly reached out to like 5 or 6 different teams, forwarded my resume. They all wanted to phone screen me. I didn't make through any of the phone screens, unfortunately. I was pretty junior at the time. But the point, that's not the point. The point is reaching out to people directly if things are not going your way can go a long way, and they really appreciate you being proactive and being enthusiastic. And the less experience you have, the more enthusiastic and eager and sort of motivated you have to be to get those jobs, because they'll be like, people will be like, I know this person is junior, but I can tell they really want it. I can tell they're really eager, and I would love to work with them. And that's kind of how I got my first real job, which would be Citrix. I was junior, but I did pretty good. I made some mistakes in the exercise they gave me, but they explained my reasoning, and it was reasonable reasoning, and they sort of they went fine with that. The phone screen and tech interview are kind of actually pretty similar. I don't really have any particular different tips for phone screen and in person. The only thing I would say for phone screen is just have your story, and once you go through it a few times, it'll kind of pop up. Just I come from I was born in Soviet Union. I was taught to be as humble as I can, and that's fine. But try to not be too humble. Like, at the end of the day, that interview is a sales process, and you're the business, and you're selling your services, right? That just because they hire you full time doesn't mean you're not a business. It doesn't mean you're not selling your services. And you have to tell them, like, hey, here I am. Here's what I can do for you. You have to be honest. You can say you know something you don't. But if you don't something, don't say, yeah, I don't know. Say, like, what, I haven't learned it, but haven't done this, but I've done this similar thing, and I'm pretty confident I can pick it up really fast. It's a sales process. Don't forget it. Be positive. Be nice. Part of it is just people don't just they don't just look at you and try to figure out if this person is technically sound. They also want to figure out, do I want to work with this person? Is this a nice person? And it's a little bit different on the phone than in person, but it's basically the same rules apply. Be positive. Smile even if you're on the phone. People can hear that you're smiling. On the phone especially, they can't see you, so just talk through what you're doing. If you think about something, talk to them about, like, what, here's my thought pattern. If we do this, then maybe we'll do that, blah blah blah. Just make sure they keep them engaged. Don't just go off for 30 minutes and try to solve whatever challenge they gave without giving them any kind of feedback. Try to keep them engaged. And just remember, some things will go well, some things won't. Try to be as positive as you can. Don't roll your eyes if they give you something that you think is bad. Don't they'll be like, oh, this. I'm a front, like I had this problem before. I'm a front-end engineer. Why are you asking me object-oriented question? It's the wrong attitude to have. It's not gonna go well. Might as well, say thank you and hang out at this point, because if you don't want to solve what they give you, then don't bother. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. They're probably not bringing you in anyway. But if it goes well, it goes well. Anyway, moving on to tech. I do have a couple of advices there. Don't overdress. It's actually, I found it to be harmful, at least in Silicon Valley, Bay Area. You kind of have to feel it out based on the industry. I assume, like, maybe if you interview in New York for finance tech job, maybe overdressing, like wearing a suit, is appropriate thing. I found that if I show up with a tie and a suit, people just immediately, it's like a red flag for them. So don't, maybe some business casual is as fancy as you need to go, some slacks and a shirt, tucked in shirt, collar shirt. That's probably as fancy as you ever want to be. I know a friend of mine who got offer from Facebook, Google, and Amazon, and he went out, he went to interview wearing I think probably like a shirt like I'm wearing or something like that, and Crocs. And it was like kind of in your face, colorful Crocs too. It wasn't just plain Crocs. So here people like nerds, they just show up wearing whatever, and